Susan Asmus, I'm with the National Association of Home Builders. Like Austin and his members, we represent a little bit of a different group. We are the folks that are building homes and communities across the United States. We represent over 140,000 members in all 50 states. And like I said, we are building the communities of the future with every new home that we build. I'd like to take a little bit of a different tack in terms of, what are we looking at for reauthorization? What are we hoping to see? First and foremost, a long-term reauthorization, 5 years would be optimal, and one that includes elements that make sure that the insurance requirements and opportunities are predictable, available, and affordable. When we talk about affordability, what we mean is not only the insurance rates themselves, but it's also the entire set of mitigation. Am I echoing, or is that just because I'm hearing the reverberation here? It's also all of the pieces that are included in the community floodplain management steps that are taken at the community level. And so we like to think that we're realistic and pragmatic about what actually can happen on the ground and how we can implement those things in a way that makes sense for not only the builders of the United States, but also the communities in which these elements are taking place. When we talk about affordability of housing, there are a lot of things that people are talking about that skew that number a little bit and make it more and more difficult to provide that housing. I mean, we all know communities initially located where they're located because of access to highways, access to commerce, access to rivers and harbors and other things that give them that access. And unfortunately, many of those places or most of those places, all of those places, are also located in the floodplain. So many of our economic centers, our big cities, are all located within close proximity, if not within the floodplain. As we move further and further out and we start to look at not only historic data, but also predictions of the future, that area is growing. More concerns are being raised about how do we develop in those places in a way that makes sense for not only the communities, but also for the existing and potential homeowners. What that does on the homeowner side and the home buyer side is oftentimes that raises costs. And it might not be the home cost itself, but it can include transportation costs, it can include rental costs. As one moves further out, if the job is in the city center, you've got the additional costs associated with commuting and getting to and from where you need to be. And what we found in our research and looking at these elements from lots of different perspectives is financing is really the missing element. And so as people want to purchase homes, as those homes get more and more expensive because of building code requirements, elevation requirements, other elements that the communities put in place, fewer and fewer families are able to afford those homes. And so anything that Congress can include within any NFIP reauthorization to address the financing issue would be extremely helpful. I want to talk a little bit about the existing structures. I've got what I think is an extremely compelling statistic. There are 137 million homes in the United States, and out of those 137, 130 million of those, did I say 1,000, were built before 2010. And over 17 million of those homes are within the special flood hazard area. So if you start thinking about it, and if you pay attention to building codes and structural soundness and things like that, what you learn is, we've got a lot of old houses out there. And what are we going to do with all of those old homes? It's extremely unrealistic to think that those are all going to go away quickly. We've got a statistic from the census that suggests that only 6 out of every 1,000 homes that are taken out of commission every year are actually located within the floodplain. And so we're talking about I misspoke. 6 out of 1,000 are built, were built in 1990 or earlier. So the number of old homes that are taken off the market are extremely small. And so there's this huge nut that we collectively and many others who are not in this room need to address. How do we get these homes better able to withstand disasters? How do we move people out of harm's way if that's possible? How do we mitigate for these homes? We've been looking at this in lots of different ways and looking at different disasters, but when you look at flooding, and I think Dave would agree with me, elevation is the key. People say, well, you've got to elevate, that's the best way to protect homes from flooding. Lots of challenges with elevation. I was at a conference a couple of weeks ago and somebody suggested elevation costs anywhere between $68 to $120 per foot to elevate. That's significant. Another interesting statistic is 40% of those 17 million homes that are located within the special flood hazard area belong to low and moderate income homeowners. And so when you start talking about, okay, you need to elevate your home, or it would be best if you elevated your home at $68 to $120 per foot, who's going to foot that cost? The reality is it costs a lot of money. And it's difficult to come up with a program that might fit every situation. Elevation is also a problem in lots of areas because of poor construction, poor initial construction, or you don't know. A lot of our members are involved in remodeling, but a lot of our members are not involved in remodeling because of the questionable factor. They don't know when they open the door or when they pull out a wall what they're going to find. And so they are very apprehensive about being part of that market. Elevation, other mitigation measures that can possibly protect homes are part of that kind of great mystery. And this is something that, again, I think we as a group need to figure out. Final thought, when you look at new construction is resilient. New construction is built to modern codes. New construction has demonstrated to be resilient. FEMA has done a number of post-disaster studies that basically conclude homes built to modern codes fared much better than the older housing stock. IBHS has done a similar study after Harvey that said homes built to modern codes fared well. And so, we like to say that new homes are safe, new homes are resilient, and new homes are part of the resilient cities of the future. I'd like to end on a similar note as Austin. As the nation's home builders, we are building the homes and communities that you all live in and that your constituents live in. We are a key part of the process. Again, when you start thinking about where to build, where should our communities grow, where can our economies grow, we're a big part of that. I would offer, please contact us, talk to us. We've got associations in every state. They can help with coming up with these reasonable solutions to our nationwide flooding issues and NFIP. So thank you very much.